because Brian had to reinstall Windows and screwed up his computer and his whole studio. So I had to rewire everything, and we're 3 minutes late, but we're here. Welcome, everybody. I don't even know what camera to look at. I was supposed to look over here, and now I'm looking over here. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you coming back for another recurring episode. We have a couple of our recurring guests here. We have Jeff Hoffman. Welcome back. Robert Preston. We have Sandy and Mike Harrison, as well as some special guests. We got Mike from Let's Camp. And I don't know how to pronounce your name. Anjala?
Angeli.
Angeli. Okay. That's even easier than it looks.
Yeah.
Welcome from Diva RV Resorts.
Deva, formerly
Right.
Roots
Really
RV.
messing up
We just
French.
rebranded.
Deva RV Resorts and Angeli. Okay. Appreciate you guys being here today. So let's go around the room and just introduce ourselves briefly. Do you want to start with Robert? You want to start?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Robert Preston, currently working out of Pensacola, Florida, and CEO founder of Unhitched RV.
Are you on the road full time, Robert, usually, or?
It feels like it, but
Okay. So I didn't know if you were like traveling around with your family or something like that. So
we've done a lot of that, but no, I'm in our actual office.
okay. Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Huffman from Camp Strategy, and I'm in sunny and warm Sandusky, Ohio.
It looks kind of cloudy behind you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's why I've got a good background in some other cities. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Welcome, Jeff. Appreciate you being here.
okay.
Angeli.
Hi, I'm Angeli Harvey. I'm the VP of Deva RV Resorts. I'm currently based out of Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. We have 18 RV resorts across Ontario, and it's a family-run business with my father.
Awesome. Welcome. I'm excited to learn more about what you guys are doing. I guess I'm far from you. I'm in Calgary, but I'm in the same country at least. So
Awesome.
Mike.
Hi.
Oh, there's two mics. Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry.
Mike from CRR. How about that?
All right. I am Mike Harrison with CRR Hospitality. We own, manage, and consult for RV resorts, glamping, and hotels. Based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and excited to kick off 2026.
Thanks for being here, Mike. Mike, why?
All right, thanks, Brian. My name is Mike Gasnick, and I'm the CEO and general manager of Let's Camp, based out of Saskatchewan, Canada, and happy to be here.
Mike, you look like you could use Mike. Why? You look like you'd use another painting on the wall behind you.
Yeah, we just moved into this new office, so I've got some work to do.
It's better than me. I don't even have an office, so and I can't even get a studio working, as we already talked about. So, Sandy, last but not least.
I'm Sandy Ellingson. My background is technology. I sold my consulting firm and hit the road full-time as RVer and accidentally landed in the campground industry. So now I serve as a liaison between the industry and campgrounds.
Is that your actual RV behind you? Have you figured out how to make it really wide, or?
No, this is an office. So.
Okay. All right. You said you were a full-time RVer. I was just making sure.
Well, I hit the road as a full-time RVer. Now it's about 10 months out of the year.
Ah, okay. All right. Still way braver than I am. So, well, I can't afford an RV, so that's the first problem. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So welcome everybody. Is there anything to my recurring guests? We typically start the show this way. Robert, Mike, Jeff, Sandy, that you like. Obviously, the Tampa RV show happened. Is there anything else that you guys have seen come across your desk that we should be discussing as our first show together here in 2026?
Well, I thought the Tampa RV show was excellent, and I'm still recovering. But we did see a lot of, the crowds were pretty good, a little bit bigger than anticipated. We had a huge spike on Wednesday when they started telling everybody the weather was going to get bad. So Wednesday was the busiest day, which was kind of funny. And a lot of conversation, a lot of new tech, a lot of new entries into the RV space from the unit side. We saw some really cool electric units there this year. So, and pretty much the feeling is that 2026 is going to be a better year than 2025.
Okay. Well, that's good news. Hopefully it turns out that way for everybody, right? Robert, Mike, Jeff, anything to add?
Yeah, that's interesting perspective because that's not what I'm hearing from most. Most folks that I've talked to, whether it's pundits in the industry or whether it's, one of the larger organizations are expressing caution, both in occupancy and pace. And following kind of the hospitality trends, the hotel industry now has, I think it's 10 months in a row of backwards decline. And so, while I'm not exercising pessimism, I'm certainly not exercising optimism. It's a year of caution, understanding what's going to happen with the trends and the transient mostly, especially continuing to absorb all the new supply that was built, over the last 3 years that have opened. So that's kind of what I'm hearing and seeing.
Well, I think there's two different things here, right? So Sandy, like I think you were basically saying it was cautiously optimistic that it was a better year for the RV industry, for RV sales, for dealers, right?
Well, just the industry as a whole.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so I'm hearing the same thing that Mike is, but I hope that you're right, Sandy. So
it's kind of interesting. And I do believe that we've got some studies coming out that really show what is happening on the industry side, the manufacturing side, truly impacts our campgrounds. We were, for the first time last year, being able to see something that was happening in the industry directly impact cancellations in my parks. So building off of that, it's been real interesting. There are some things that need to be solved on the industry side. And if those things are solved, I think we'll see a better outdoor hospitality side. I think some of the issues we're facing will correct themselves. And so a lot of what most of the research that I've seen that's been being done is focused and isolated just on the hospitality industry. And they're not looking at some of the cause and effect. And we've got a new report coming out next month that's going to show some of that. So it's going to be really exciting.
Okay. Like I said, hopefully you're right. Robert, anything to add? Jeff?
Well, you published in your modern campground report today.
I did.
Some information about delayed bookings, and I went through that and thought that we're getting back to what used to be normal. Now it seems like delayed booking, but that is where bookings used to be, not used to being booked 8 months out to a year. So I think we're coming back to a little normalization in the industry. But yeah, I enjoyed being booked fully a year in advance, but now
It's nice. Yeah. I have to talk to Scott about that, because I don't think that comparison is in the report with year over like 2019, 2020, right?
Right.
So it would be interesting to get that data to find out like whether we're normalizing or whether we're beneath where 2019, 2020 was as far as booking window goes. Because what Scott has repeatedly told me, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, there's much more nuance to it than I'm going to be able to describe here. But what Scott has told me is that the shorter the booking window gets, the longer people push off the decision to travel, the less likely it is that they will actually take the trip at all. So it'll be interesting.
And the other thing to add to that too, Brian, and this was one of the things that I saw, was that we really need to be thinking in terms of travelers, not campers. Because it used to be we kind of isolated and said, we are the camping industry. Now, not only has the options changed for the people coming into the space, but even in our own campgrounds, we have campsites, we have glamping sites, we have tiny homes. The variation is so different that sometimes when you're doing research and you're isolating yourself and saying just campers, you're almost ignoring a large part of who we could be reaching. And so I think that casts a little different perspective on it. But I also think too, is we've got so many different options that it gives us a longer booking window, right? If we can't get the campsite, then we can get an Airbnb, or we can get a glamping unit. And so I think that shortens the booking window as well.
Yeah, I don't have any data to refute that, but I think for sure Scott is taking into account what you just said, right? Not just camping. I mean, I think I'm confident enough in his research and methodologies that I could say he probably did that. There is some data here. We're going to talk about an outlier later that he showed me as a data point that said 46 to 52% of campers stay in cabins, as an anecdote. So it's almost like a break-even split between RVs and cabins, glamping, accommodations, right? So I thought that was an interesting statistic. I haven't had a chance to dive into him with it on where what the specifics were behind that, but I thought that was pretty interesting. It goes to your point of it's more than just campers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And of course I keep, I am biased, but Scott is in a whole nother category as far as I'm concerned, as far as researchers. And then there's this whole glut of stuff that comes out by other people that is framed to make everything look well. Right. And so I always take it with a grain of salt, but the average person doesn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting data out there. We'll leave that there, right?
Exactly.
So, Robert, anything new on your side?
Yeah, I would say there's two things. One, which is an encouraging side of it, is that there seems to be a lot more conversations about how to bring the industry together, from all the way from the supplier to the OEM to the dealer to the park owner. A lot of that's led by our fabulous Sandy here, and so I think there's some encouragement there. And then I'm hearing some more and more conversations about the national associations versus state level associations and trying to figure out how they can work together. So this is very cursory, and I think there's a really, really long way to go for the industry. But if we can start heading that direction and start bringing some consolidation of how to improve the unit, and how to improve the park, and how to improve the association, that's great. And then specific to Florida, there's some negative things here in regards to taxation and ad valorem taxes and stuff that the Florida Association's working heavy to combat at the county city level. So we tend to think at the state and national level, but there's essentially some backdoor issues that a city council or county can bring in there. So that's more of a Florida specific issue, but I can see that spreading nationally if we don't cut that off at the head. So those are kind of just two high level things that we've been thinking about and working on for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like it was one of the things that surprised me when I moved to Canada, coming from the United States, is that all their associations up here are not the same, but they all very closely work together. Like the board of the Canadian Camping and RV Association has board members from RVDA of Canada, from Go RVing, from the RV Manufacturers Association. They all work so closely together. And so I think there's definitely a benefit to trying to do something like that in the States. And I think it's been tried before. I don't have intimate knowledge about what didn't get us all the way there. Jeff probably does. Jeff, you wanted to talk about associations too. We were talking about normalizing RV sales. Do you remember way back when the States used to work with National? I just wanted to throw that at you, Jeff. Have fun with that.
Oh, thank you. It wasn't that long ago that we did work together, but it was never a smooth operation. Some states it was, some weren't. And most people know that the OHI organization broke out and is now independent of the states. So we are the national organization, and then for campground owners, and then there's state associations for the campground owners. Florida combined with another state, Colorado, Ohio, Pennsylvania. A lot of states have their own organizations, and they're all good. And they should work together, and that is one of the main goals we're looking at, is to reform some connections between OHI and the states and get it so we're working together. There's projects that will work for both of us. There's projects we do on the national level. So, I was in a good position when it broke up. I was president of the Ohio Association and also sat on the board.
I remember. Yeah. How do you think, like, give me an idea of how this best works to bring the states and national together in your mind? Obviously not speaking for OHI or not speaking for any state association, just Jeff's idea.
My idea is to start with quarterly reports that we can go to not only the public but the states, and start opening up the lines of communication, because that's the best start, is if we can start communicating with all of the associations and asking them what they need from us instead of telling them what we needed. So trying to bring those relationships back in through communication, I think is where we start. There's things that we can offer as a national group that they can't do as a state group. And then we're always looking for new amenities that we can add that will help people. Some things we're looking at for larger parks to combat some insurance. That's not even ready for publication, but there are things that we are working on to make it so that Ojai has value for the individual owners, and then also trying to make it so there's return on investment to belonging to your state organization and the national organization. You know, if we can't offer a product that's good for your campground, then I don't blame you if you don't do this. So we're working on the quality of our product, and that should help us sell both to the state and to the individuals.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but Robert, do you have anything to add to that? That you sound
A
like
couple
you maybe have put some thought into it. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I've got a couple ideas. I think we start with potentially why it doesn't work outside of relationships and anything there. But I think one of the challenges is the reason it doesn't work is because campgrounds and RV parks are two businesses in one. It's a real estate business and it's a hospitality business, and they're combined together. And so because no matter how much of that we want to try to blend together, real estate is very different from state to state, county to county. And at the end of the day, it is still purely real estate, right? And real estate has a lot of issues. And so when we try to tackle an issue that is for the industry, well, if it's real estate, then that means something totally different for me in Florida or a county, so Alabama, so on and so forth. So I think this is not a perfect solution, but we have to then start by categorizing what we're trying to solve. Does it need to be solved at a state level, or can it be solved at a national level? Is it a real estate type problem, taxes, insurance, so on and so forth? Or is this a hospitality type problem where maybe at a national level, it does make sense to tackle? And then we've got to start integrating the industry side of it as well, because frankly, it feels like we bury our heads in the sand right now and say that they have no impact on us except for the number of units that are sold, which is just ridiculous, right? So how we do affects them, and how they perform in the products they put out really affects us. So we've got to figure out how to bridge that gap.
Mike, do you have any thoughts coming from Arizona? Or?
Well, I think absolutely, and speaking to Jeff in terms of, where do we align? And I think advocacy is probably the single biggest and most important part. The National Association has so much more leverage, awareness, access than the state associations do. And, just looking at the recent, Credit Card Commission Act that, hopefully is about to pass, it's been 3 to 4 years in the making, constant visits to DC by the national, but they also need the help from the locals, to get it done. And so this most recent one last week, and some of you may have seen President Trump's comments on it. The fact that it made it to the president's awareness is pretty important. But we asked our state association, for everybody, for the advocacy to write the letters to their senators and the representatives, and so the alignment on advocacy is important because it helps everyone, right? And the Credit Card Commission Act is just one example, but if that passes, what that can do for parks profitability, that just rolls downhill, whether it's a broker, whether it's an owner, whether it's an operator, if you can get an additional, $500,000 on, $50,000 savings on NOI, whatever cap you're using, that's a great win, for everyone. So I think that's where the alignment sits primarily right now, is advocacy and how we can leverage and do that better. I don't disagree with anything everybody is saying. I mean, I've been calling forever, coming from the hospitality industry, we're so fragmented here, and whether it's data, whether it's alignment on the different, RVIA versus Ojai versus the state associations versus, outdoor, recreation roundtable, whatever it may. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and we could probably do a lot better if we consolidated. So I think the industry has continued to push forward, especially as more institutional investors and influence come into the industry. That will only continue to improve. If you look at now versus 5 years ago, we're light years ahead of where we were, right? So where will we be 5 years from now? The advent of AI, the continued improvement in technology of the properties, the awareness, private campground growth, et cetera, et cetera. So it will happen. It just needs to have continued conversation and communication.
I think in 5 years we'll have Robot Jeff running everything. That's my hope.
5 years, Jeff's not even. I shouldn't even say that aloud. Never mind.
I won't even be here in 5 years, so it's so it's up to you guys. But I do think one of the other areas of collaboration would be in education for Ojai to have education programs for the states. And we do have our annual conference, which is something. But given all of that, I think you're correct, Mike, in that we need to work with not only the states, but RVIA and everybody else that's associated with the industry, the glamping people. They have an association. Everybody needs to get together and push this industry in a direction forward, not just my little kingdom. So that's kind of overstepping, but I guess that's what I look at is I think we need to embrace everyone in the industry.
Mike, why? Can I put you on the spot for a second? And I'll preface it and I'll start it by saying, I'm just curious what you think coming from Canada, from the associations all kind of being more tied together, to now you're coming down as a supplier and exhibiting at some of the shows in the United States, glamping show. I think you were at Ojai too, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just curious what you think of that, because from a supplier standpoint, and I'll give my perspective first, just because I don't want to throw you under the bus and not be willing to do it myself, right? I think it's incredibly hard to manage. I would love to support every one of these state associations wherever we can, both financially and doing business with them and speaking and exhibiting and doing, but it's almost like there's so many places to go register for trade shows and keep up with dates and keep up with paperwork and keep up with deadlines. And I've got a team of 30 people, but I don't have a dedicated person who can manage all the trade show logistics. It's just not. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'd love to have some kind of synergy where I can support an organization that divvies up the funds and supports, I don't know. Obviously that's maybe pie in the sky, right?
Yeah, no, I have the same sentiment as you on all of that. I think in Canada, I've been working in the camping industry since about 2010, 2012. And originally it was all province or, area associations. And then I think the CCRVC kind of built around that and on top of that. So I think that's how it kind of worked, because the National Association kind of, went out to all those other associations and kind of built on top of it. All the provincial stuff was there. The national was there first, but then they worked well together. But you're right, coming down to the States, there's, 30 different trade shows and conferences as a supplier you can go to. And, choosing the right ones is, tough to do. And getting value, at some of the big shows is hard. Some of the small shows are actually better because you have more interaction with, intimate interactions with, the campgrounds and RV parks that are coming there. So I like, the Campground Solutions Summit. That's kind of an area, doing more area type trade shows I think would really help the industry versus just all the individual states. I see the value in the individual states. It's just really hard for a supplier, like you said, to go to 30 different shows and support all the different areas throughout the year for sure.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts? I don't want to spend the rest of the show talking about associations, but we got to get to Angeli and our others and talk more about Mike and Let's Camp too. But anybody else have any thoughts they want to share before we move on?
All I was going to say, Brian, is anyone that has any thoughts or ideas on it can basically email their thoughts to me. so that I can start working with the organization to develop a plan on how to incorporate what we're talking about.
What's your email?
My email is jeff@campstrategy.com.
All right, there you go. To everybody in the audience who would like to contribute to the discussion, please send Jeff an email, give him your good ideas. He'll sort through them all, and we'll try to make something happen, yeah? Better in 5 years, right, Mike? H? All right.
It's going to be better in 1 year.
Oh, is that a promise?
Semi-promise.
Oh, okay. I mean, you dated it live on the air, so
Definitely 2 years.
Angeli, tell us about what you guys and your family have going on in Ontario with your 18 resorts.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me here. So last year, it's been just over a year since we actually doubled up. So we did have 10 properties, and then we acquired another 10. 2 of our original ones we passed off in our family to another family member. So now we have a total of 18 across Ontario. Fun fact, I'm one of 7 kids. And so I actually grew up in the RV industry when I was, only 9 months old. My dad was running an RV park, and I grew up within one. So it's really kind of a full circle moment to be able to, run something on this scale with my father, having lived and worked in an RV resort as well. So we're all over Ontario. And so because of that, it's been interesting to try to set up things while maintaining kind of that family run dynamic. I think that's something that really differentiates us, because once you get to 18 different parks, you're seen, whether or not, you run that or run that way, you're seen as a very corporate entity, which, although we are a corporation, we really pride ourselves on maintaining that family run dynamic. And that's something that's been really special to us. So we're actually just over 1 week today, actually, for our rebrand. We were Roots RV Resorts and brought it all together under a new heading, Deva RV Resorts, which is kind of really special to us. It means fate or destiny, and kind of coming full circle with being over 30 years in the industry, and this being honoring our family journey. And yeah, it's been pretty special to be able to work hand in hand with my father and continue to grow. I'm also a real estate agent. So, as Robert there was saying, it's, the same up here in Canada. You have the hospitality side of things as well as the real estate side of things with RV industry here. And it's a unique position to be in, to be able to understand the business from an acquisition standpoint, a real estate standpoint, and then an operation standpoint as well. So, yeah.
I'm curious your advice on something, and I probably will want to ask the same question to maybe Mike and Robert too. But to you first, you mentioned in your conversation there that you pride yourself on being a family-run operation, corporation. You don't want that, like we know how that's viewed, right? Both in Canada and the United States. What would be your number one piece of advice you would give to people who own multiple properties to keep it more that way if they want to? I actually stepped away from the family business for a while to run RV resorts with another company. And, I learned so much from them, and I learned things about being with a corporation that I know has helped me guide me in that exact thing. And one of those is being very top heavy of a company. And I think that when you think corporate, you think, or at least I think when I think of corporate, a very top heavy company where you have many, many different individuals with many, big titles. And I know when I was on the operational side of that, you feel more like a number, and as in your opinion doesn't really matter. And I think that's something that we really pride ourselves in, that our managers are primarily couples or families, siblings or children that work with their parents on site. So although,
we obviously can't be in 18 places at once. There's still that family run atmosphere on the property. And there's a real pride of ownership that they have, where their opinion and their input creates a difference from a company standpoint. So, we were the Roots RV family, now we're the Dave RV family. And I really think that that's something that all of our staff kind of live by, as their opinion matters and they're not just a number, and there's not all of these other people in the company that they don't know their names, that email them every now and then. We all know everyone, and everyone has an important role to play.
Mike H. or Robert, do you have any thoughts to add on that?
Yeah, I think mine is very similar. There is a constant gravitational pull to the corporate side of it, right? That you it's a battle, as the leader of a company, to not allow the company to turn into a headquarter-based company, a corporation. It's really hard to do, because everything that is done differently or wrong at the property level, the easy solution is, well, let's just standardize it. Let's just make it a policy, or let's just make it a home office type of role or job or duty. And so you have to fight that. But frankly, there are a lot of things that should be done at the home office or the corporate office. So that's part of the growth side of it. But and Julie, right?
Yes.
Jelly. I think it's having a clear set of things, roles, finances, et cetera, that are in the on-site manager's control, and a clear set of things that are not their responsibility or in their control. As long as those are delineated and they have some autonomy and authority in this quarter and not in this quarter, then we can still be an efficiently run company that has cohesiveness between each other. And, it makes fundamental sense from a finance perspective, and doesn't start to feel like McDonald's, right? It's still, every park has its own culture, has its own people, has its own hospitality, right? It has its own sense of what that park is, even though maybe the back end is more structured than your typical one-off park.
For sure.
It would be interesting, I think, to get some data on how many people who come to an unhitched RV or a CRR hospitality property, or a corporatized property, so that actually realize that they're part of a corporation and it's not just named an unhitched RV.
They've got a good sense, because they can see that things are standardized or professional, or, in our communication, our app, clearly says CRR hospitality on it, but, to answer your question, it's something that's very intentional for us that we focus on. From a cultural standpoint, we're very careful. It's so easy. I've been part of one of the largest hospitality companies in the country, and it can become a we versus they being corporate, or us versus they. And, at CRR, we focus on we, right? And we intentionally don't call ourselves the home office or corporate. We call ourselves the leadership team. And it's something that, it's important to us. We've been named the top employer in the state of Arizona 3 years in a row. And our culture is what drives us. It's, what makes us us. If you're familiar with Simon Sinek and his, concept of why, we have a why we exist, right? And we exist to serve all those that we touch. That's CRR's why. And we try and train that, and we try and behave that way, and we try and lead that way. But, as Robert mentions, it's harder the bigger you get. Because you can't control everything at 30 properties, and so how much do you SOP, versus something. I remember one company I worked for at one point had a 56-page compliance audit, and I said to myself, I will never have a 56-page compliance audit at CRR. Now, the more and more you get into running your own business, you understand. At some point, one property had a bad cash handling process, and they lost $2,000 because of X. Well, then we got to put a cash policy in place. But then another one, has a bad receivable, and you had to write off X amount of dollars. Okay, we got to put an AR policy in place. You have to find that balance of standardization to protect the business versus SOPing everything. But that's also the difference. I mean, there's a reason why Marriott's the largest hotel company in the world, and a brand is a promise, right? So, there are some people that will refuse to, stay at a corporate property and they want only private campgrounds. My brother's that way. He will never go to a chain restaurant, period. That's just his belief.
Oh, that's me. I won't go to a chain restaurant either.
Yeah, well, maybe we won't go to
Like
chain.
if it's got like 3 locations, like, right, then it's tiny. But if it's like got 10, 20, 30 in different provinces and states, no, I won't go to it.
Yeah. And, so like Robert said, each property has its own, for us, our own DNA and vibe is what we call it. They have their own identity. And most people probably have no idea we're a Sierra property, but, we're intentionally making sure that our brand is a promise, and you can expect things like Canine Corner at every single one of our properties. And that's, something that we're going to deliver. That's a proprietary differentiator. So it is a balance of not corporatizing it, but also making whatever property we do a promise to the customer that we're working with and the associate. I mean, it's both sides.
To all 3 of you who own and operate multiple properties here, Angeli, Mike, and Robert, do you see a lot of loyalty who they will come and experience Unhitched or CRR or Diva, and they will then go to another one of your properties based on that experience?
Yeah, I think we definitely do. And also we've experienced a lot of people who, as soon as we purchased, especially a year and a half ago, purchased everything, they were like, oh my gosh, it's not a new corporation coming in. And, I think that a lot of people stayed, when there's a sale of a property, there's people that come and go. And we didn't actually lose too many people because we were a family corporation. And, I think that's something, there's the benefits of a chain and a corporation, but making sure that you, like Mike was even saying, keep that culture and differentiation and vibe at each park is super important. We definitely do have people now, especially now that we've kind of built our brand a little bit more over the last year and a half than we have before, wanting to travel around Ontario and go around to our other parks. So something that, earlier you guys were talking about vacancy and just the health of this industry, and it's something that I think is on all of our minds always, and something that we're doing to fuel that and create, this momentum of people going and visiting all of our parks, as well as we're looking at different membership options to utilize some of our sites that maybe aren't being used as much, promote the transient overnights, and get people to see the brand and, promise, like Mike was saying as well, that the brand gives at each of our other parks across Ontario. So I know we've definitely seen that, and it's continued to grow as we've grown as well.
What do you think your outlook is, Angeli, for 2026? Are you excited? Are all the Canadians going to stay home with us again, or?
I'm kind of unsure a little bit. So we have, it was an interesting perspective. Sandy was saying earlier about having so many different options and people, staying the length that people are booking is shorter because there's so many options. So we have campsites. We also have lodging. We have seasonal sites, which are the majority of our sites. So 6-month occupancy. And we have extended seasonals where it's, more of a longer term stay, not year round, but allows them to stay longer as more of a year round cottage. And we have more vacancy than we have in previous years. But we've also had a lot more inquiries and site visits and bookings for overnight than we have in previous years as well. And I think that, since COVID, I'd be interested in seeing those stats to 2019 as well, to see what today is from before COVID, because, things have changed a lot since then. And I think that when we look back year to year, it makes us, I think, more nervous than we have to be. We are seeing a lot, our analytics and our bookings and whatnot are better than they were last year. So at the same time, so I'm excited and hopeful, and we have some different things in the works to try and make things a little more affordable, because I think overall across all industries, affordability is one of the biggest factors. And so one of the things we're very close to launching is a trailer rent back program. So for our seasonal guests that stay a little longer, and to try to work with our sales division and bring in some new RVs we're going to be launching something where units that are 5 years of age or newer are able to join another program where we do a profit share and we rent it on their behalf, to not only bring in lodging in some of our resorts where we may not have it, but allow people to kind of rent their sites through us, rent their units through us, so we can monitor who's coming and going, and then do a profit share. So it makes it a little more affordable, and hopefully we'll bring in some more people to upgrade their units, as well as maybe decide to stay another season or two when it maybe wasn't something that originally was affordable to them any longer.
Makes sense. Mike, what's going on? Mike, why? What's going on with Let's Camp? You guys have been buying up some companies, haven't you?
Yeah, we've definitely spent some time expanding into the U.S. over the last couple of years, and that's come through a couple of acquisitions and just spending some time at a lot of the U.S. Conferences and trade shows, just getting our name out there and expanding into different areas of the U.S. Along with that, we also launched like a marina software program called Let's Boat. So this year, we'll spend a little bit of time marketing and promoting that and learning the needs of marina operators as well. A lot of the campgrounds we work with, not a lot, I mean, let's say 30% also have either a small marina or a large marina at their properties. So being able to service both of those very well, was something that we identified as a need, and being able to do it all in one platform is important to these campgrounds. I mean, other than that, I think, so far for the year to date, what we're seeing anyways is things are kind of like flat compared to last year, like, about the same for booking and reservations for analytics. And I think campgrounds in Canada are cautiously optimistic. And then the US ones are, still waiting to see what Canadians are going to do, if they're coming down or not. So yeah, lots happening, and we're excited for the year ahead.
As you expand into the United States market, what do you think your biggest opportunity is when you look at some of the competition? Like, what do you think would differentiates you? Where are you going that you think everybody should consider Let's Camp for?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we try and stand out as being a simple solution, keeping things simple with still having the features that people need. So we do work with a lot of like smaller RV parks. They maybe average 80 to 100 sites, and just keeping it simple for all those teams. I think most of the camp hosts and managers are still, like older retired couples, and these things have to be simple. But at the same time, we want to make sure our software has all the integration so they can do everything within our management system. So like the utility integrations and the accounting integrations and all of that point of sale stuff, our platform can handle them. But I think keeping things simple, easy to use, easy to set up, easy to train new staff is, has always been one of our focuses and strengths here in Canada, and we're trying to keep that the same as we move into the US.
Is there a reason, and maybe it's a secret and you don't want to tell me, but is there a reason you guys pushed into the United States now versus any other time in your history?
I think it was just, we wanted to prove the software, make sure it works, it's stable, all of those kinds of things, and as we grew through Canada, that was easy to do. We had to get to a certain size to be able to do all the US accounting and stuff like that as well in the US, and be able to support, multi-currencies. So I think it was just kind of like a scale and size thing. I don't think there was really, a push into, or like a deciding factor why now. I think we were just kind of smaller, and once we got to a certain size, scaling into the US market, which is very similar to the Canadian market, other than, maybe some different areas with longer term camping and, lease options and stuff like that might be different. But it was kind of just a size and scale decision.
What are you most looking forward to for 2026, Mike? What do you think the industry, Mike, why? What do you think the industry is going to look like? Where is it going to go?
Yeah, I think this year we're just seeing, companies like ours just really dive into data and stats. So companies like Mike's and Roberts and Angeli's, can use the data within our systems to make informed decisions about their properties, right? So I think that's going to be a focus of ours and throughout the industry, is just looking at that data. The data from last year, like Mike said, is things are slowing down from the COVID boom, right? So like we are seeing the industry level off or maybe normalize a little bit that way. So I think staying on top of that data is important, so that these campgrounds and resorts that we work with can make informed decisions.
All right, let's spend the last bit of our show here asking each other questions. I don't know if you guys have been a part of this show yet. Mike, we did this. Mike H, we did this at KOA and a few other places. But let's go around the room. So the way we do this, we just kind of do a round table. So we'll start with Sandy, since she's been super quiet. And well, maybe we should start with Jeff, since he looks like he's kind of sleepy over there.
We'll start with Sandy.
We'll start with Sandy. So Sandy, you can ask anybody here a question. Yes, Mike a question, Robert, the other Mike, Jeff, Angeli a question, and then they'll ask somebody else a question. But if somebody asks Robert a question, only one person can ask Robert a question, then he's taken out of the pool. So we get everybody ask a question. So Sandy, who would you like to ask a question to?
Oh, I'm going to pick on Mike Harrison. So, Mike, what do you think is the most innovative or newest thing you're going to carry into 2026?
Well, I don't want to tell you what my most innovative and
Proprietary secret.
I think, to not leverage AI in your business in some form or fashion, whether it's a customer experience, an associate experience, a data experience, efficiency experience, I think you're leaving effectiveness, deliverable money on the table. There's a lot of different ways, to do that. So I think, we're going to be working on a lot of different things in 2026 that will, leverage technology to make sure that we can be the best, operator, owner, employer, hoster, service provider, that we can be. So that's what we're looking forward to in 2026.
All right, Mike, your turn. Ask anybody a question.
Angeli. So obviously I was looking at your website as you were talking. I'd never heard of you up until today, which is, you're north of the border. How close are you to Greenland, by the way? I don't know if anybody's
the Greenland conversation. We're pretty far.
But what is Davia's plan? Are you going to expand into the U.S. or what is your growth strategy look like?
I personally would love to consider down the road going into the States. It's something that I've always kind of had on my mind, but I think, we've just doubled up in a year and a half. And I think that it's really important that you don't, grow too fast, especially not being a very top heavy company. As I mentioned, you have to make these strategies intentionally. I think that it's something that definitely is on my mind as well. Most of when it comes to our seasonal sites, I think something that we're seeing more and more of is people that are wanting to live in an RV resort. And unfortunately, it's just not something that we can do because of zoning, a lot of different reasons. So I would love to be able to have an opportunity to, work with, ideally our own property in the US or with another, partner property where maybe they spend 6 months or 9 months in Canada, and then we partner with, and they spend the other 6 months or other 3 months in the US. And because I love to do it all, I would love that to be all within our own company. But it's something that's on my mind, certainly, to work with, to grow into the US eventually. But when that eventually happens is a big question mark, or if, but definitely something that I would love to explore.
So until you move to the US, do you want to give out your email so all the other big property groups down here can fight over your 3 months, 6 months traffic?
For sure, I'd be happy to. It's my first name, Angeli, my last name, Harvey, at davarv.ca.
That was really brave. I wasn't expecting you to do that. I was just joking.
I'd be happy to. I'm always open to collaborate. How I do get a large amount of emails, so I'm not always great at responding right away because I like to respond to all my emails myself. But I'm very open to collaborating. Like I said, I'm also a real estate agent, and I'd love to. I've considered also getting my license in certain states where I would like to grow, so that I can also continue to do it from the acquisition side as well. But lot of different aspects right now in particular that are going to decide how that happens in the future.
All right. So you can ask any question to anybody except Mike. He's out.
Actually, just based off that conversation, I'd love to ask Jeff, what are your thoughts on collaborating with different associations in Canada, or have there been discussions on that where we could do, be able to more easily collaborate, even in terms of what I was just talking about, where people do want to go back and forth or already do, we call them snowbirds that go down south. And so I'm not sure if that's the same down there or not, but do you see value in collaborating through the different associations?
I do. In fact, at conference, I had dinner with, I'll probably screw up her name. I think it's Sierra.
Kara Sismadia.
Yes.
You mean at KOA you did, yeah?
Yep. Okay. I'm good. It's a good thing you keep track of me, Brian.
I just knew Kara wasn't at the other Ojai conference. That's the only reason I knew that.
Yeah. But she was at the KOA, and we sat down and talked. And we have talked quite often, actually, about that. I think, unlike the people that run our country, I think a collaboration between the campground industries across the borders would be great.
I agree.
And clear up any of the misunderstandings that might have gotten said or whatever. But no, I would love to. In fact, I think I'm exhibiting at your show.
I'll be there.
Now that I finally have my passport, Brian.
In Vancouver? You're coming to Vancouver next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so.
Nice. Okay. Where do you think is the first place? I'm going to jump in a second just to follow up that, Jeff. Where do you think is the first place we should start if we wanted to do a collaboration?
Actually, if you want to email me, that would be fine, and we can start it out from there, because I only know of the one national association.
Well, that's all there is. Yeah.
We have all provincial, so we have the one national, but then we have individual provincial, and some of them are closer to the border even than others. So there's certain places where people already jump ship and go down south. So.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is. I do think that you need representation in the States for your snowbirds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you just email me with any ideas or contacts you think I should have. I'm going to have some downtime, so yeah, I get to.
What? Jeff has downtime? I don't believe that.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, your turn. Who do you want to ask a question to?
Okay. I want to ask Sandy. How did the Tampa show go, and what kind of new products are you bringing out on the market?
This Tampa show went very well. A lot of my time at the Tampa show was working specifically on what Bob was talking about, is better collaboration between the industry and the campgrounds. And actually, I'm super excited to announce that we have our first pilot starting on February 1st at one of Bob's parks. So we will be having a fully certified on-site technician on premise at his park, scheduling services, whether it's warranty or maintenance or aftermarket installs, as well as bringing in some really cool new retail stuff, which will be the pilot. One of my goals in all this is not only to connect both the industry with the campgrounds, but to create ancillary income for a lot of our parks, because with occupancy down, the ancillary income means a lot to parks. And so this is going to be a way of bringing those two together. And we hope to roll it out to at least 50 parks this year.
Will it be easier in 5 years when we have 10,000 robot Jeffs running around that can download the RV tech thing in their head and just repair all the RVs?
There's some interesting things coming, Brian. I can't wait to show you.
I just want to say, it would be fascinating if they all look like Jeff. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would make them a lot prettier than me.
Sandy, your turn to either Mike Y or Robert.
I already asked a question.
Oh, you did?
She started.
Oh, you did. Okay. All right. So you started. So Robert, do you want to ask Mike a question? Then Mike can ask Robert a question. I guess that's where we're at.
Sure. Nice to meet you, Mike. Obviously, AI, a huge part of it. Where do you see it? How are you using it in regards to developing your product? Do you have talked to some other developers, I guess, and the idea is that a lot less developers, a lot more or QC, where in the past it used to be a lot more developers and one or two QCs that could process the development side of it. And now that's kind of swapped. So I was curious if you're seeing the same thing and how you're using it.
Yeah, that's a great question. AI has definitely made development a lot easier for our team. We're a small, lean team, and AI has helped us kind of grow and expand quickly in that way. You know, our developers are using AI to expedite their, release of features and all that kind of stuff. But we're also using it in data and analytics and reporting. So just having, AI tools being able to analyze the data in the database and just outputting ideas that we wouldn't have normally had, accountants or data analysts would have had to spend weeks and months analyzing, now can be done in a matter of, 5 to 10 minutes by AI. So data analysis is definitely the big one. And then just optimizing the experience of the camper and the campground as well. We utilize AI support within our company, and it's amazing how quickly questions can be answered, in human-like fashion by AI nowadays. So, campground has a question about how to use our tool or anything like that. So,
All right, Mike, back at Robert.
Cool.
yeah, Robert, you mentioned that RV resorts are also intertwined with real estate, and they're kind of like two different businesses in one. I guess, how do you see those two kind of industries working together better moving forward? Obviously you need to buy land and then put hospitality on it. Is there any tools or processes that can help that experience?
Yeah, good question. I think from the real estate side of it, we're always fighting a little bit of an uphill battle in that most municipalities, most people don't really want a campground or RV park next to them until it's there, and then they'll use it and they enjoy it and have fun and so on and so forth. But the development of those is very, very difficult. So certainly if we could find a way to educate city and county is where we're, I think, dropping the ball. The state and national level, we have associations for, but we forget that the first roadblock we face, or sometimes the first threat we face, is typically at a city or county level. So, and then, difficulty there is any given state has 60, 70, 80 counties, and then you have 5 or 6, 10 municipalities outside of that. So it is a daunting challenge, but that would be what we're facing if we're trying to figure out how to bring the real estate side of the business along with the hospitality side and further both of them in a better collaboration. So, and I don't have an answer on how to do that, but that's what we have to do.
Government's and definitely a roadblock for a lot of different industries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're a couple minutes over. We'll wrap up real quick. Mike, where can they learn more about Let's Camp?
So we have our main sales site at join.letscamp.ca and our marketplace for campgrounds at just letscamp.com.
Thank you for being here, Mike Y. I appreciate you so much. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Sandy, where can they learn more about what you do?
You can just email me at sandy@sandyellingson.com.
Jeff?
Just email me at jeff@campstrategy.com.
Angeli, if they're coming from the United States to Canada, how do they stay at one of your resorts?
Yeah, head on over to davarv.ca and you'll see all of our locations, map, contact us, and hope you guys come and visit.
And Robert, last but not least.
Yep. Unhitchedrv.com. Find all our properties. And then unhitchedmgmt.com is for our management and
Awesome. I'll
consulting
throw out Mike had to
services.
go, but I'll throw out crhospitality.com for Mike Harrison. He had to leave to go to another meeting. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chats. If you are not sick and tired of hearing from me, which you probably should be, but if you're not, by chance, you can come join me and Scott Barr. We will be on Outwired in about 45 minutes or so, talking about some AI news data stuff of 45% to 52% cabins and a couple other good tidbits and nuggets. So we'll be over there. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on another episode of MC Fireside Chats. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you all.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Brian.